is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Short Stories Unhinged, Part 5. Now, when we left off, Renni had devised the perfect crazy plan and executed it without question. She'd endeared herself to the Indugu children and in a matter of weeks made herself virtually irreplaceable. At least, that's the story she told herself. When Stephanie, in true, found out that Renni had gotten her own apartment and canceled her dorm contract, Stephanie called LJ. And apparently, Renni had already worked her magic on her big brother, so he wasn't at all concerned. Several weeks into the first semester of the girls' junior year, Renni had successfully managed to avoid both True and Stephanie had had a damn enough. She managed to track down one of Renni's chem classmates. Because there weren't but so many 300 level sessions of the chemistry classes available, it wasn't difficult for Stephanie to narrow down which classes Renni was taking and figure out which session she was enrolled in. Stephanie said, Darla, have you seen my best friend Renni? Darla said, she wasn't at class yesterday. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw her was last Tuesday. So that means she missed last Thursday's class, this Tuesday's class, and yesterday's class. That's an automatic fail. She might as well not come back. Stephanie said, and Dr. Indugu teaches it, right? Darla said, yep, he sure does. Stephanie said, is that the only class you have with her? When Darla said that it was, Stephanie went back to her dorm room and told True everything she found out. Stephanie said, okay, so Renni has 2 chemistry classes this semester, and she hasn't been to either one of them in over a week. True said, right, and nobody seems to know where this little apartment of hers is. I've asked everybody who I could think of who she would have had over since she hasn't invited us. Stephanie said, I done had enough of this. Come on, girl, let's go. When the 2 ladies arrived at Dr. Indugu's office, he was wrapping up his Friday office hours. Stephanie said, Dr. Indugu, you don't know us, but I'm Stephanie, and this here is True. We're Renni's best friends. Dr. Indugu said, okay, I can explain. Stephanie said, explain what? Dr. Indugu said, whatever she told you, I promise you, this is a huge misunderstanding. I had no idea that she felt the way that she did. If I did, I would have never hired her or had her in my home around my children. Stephanie looked at True, and before True could say that they didn't know what he was talking about, Stephanie piped in and said, well, you're going to have to explain how you let things get this far. You should know better. Stephanie guessed that something clearly went wrong that Dr. Indugu was trying to get in front of. And he was incorrectly under the impression that Stephanie and True already knew all about it, because Stephanie did say they were her best friends. Dr. Indugu said, are you ladies here to help me or to judge me? Because I could just go ahead and take this to the dean, put it all out there, and let the chips fall where they may. Stephanie said, we're here to help our best friend. And if that requires us helping you, then we're here to help you too. It took everything in Stephanie and True to keep their poker faces on when Dr. Indugu said, well, if you ladies can help me to schedule a meeting with her in a neutral setting so that we can discuss how we move forward professionally, I'd truly appreciate it. I've been calling her, and I've been by all of her classes and spoke with several of her professors. And I've been unable to make contact with her since I put her out of my house 2 Fridays ago. I had no choice but to remove her from the pickup list at my children's school and change the locks on my house, because the way she reacted when I confronted her about drugging me was just unhinged. Stephanie, continuing the bluff, said, so you weren't a willing participant in all of this? Dr. Indugu said, of course not. I'm fond of Rennia, but in more of a big brother, little sister kind of way, or an uncle niece, not romantically. And I'd never willingly cheat on my spouse, at least not with a student. I honestly had no idea that she had any romantic designs. I honestly thought that she was trying to help me. I was in a bind, my back was against the wall, and I needed somebody to help with my kids. I'd never jeopardized my marriage or my job. LSU has very strict policies as it relates to professor-student romantic relationships. And I'm on a tenure track. So not only could I lose my wife, but I could absolutely lose my job. And I'm taking a huge risk by telling you any of this, but since she's already told you, and you were clearly concerned enough to show up here, I figure, what else can I do? Stephanie said, so you haven't told anybody else about this? Dr. Dougal said, of course not. I haven't even told my wife, and she's going to be home in about a week. True asked, speaking for the first time since they got to Dr. Dougal's office. So, how do you know for sure that she drugged you? Dr. Dougal said, oh God, please don't tell me that she's denying drugging me. If she's lying about what happened, then this isn't going to be easy. What exactly did she tell you? Stephanie looked at True like, girl, why you didn't just keep your damn mouth shut? Stephanie said, she just told us that it wasn't working out, that you had ended things, and she was really upset, and she didn't know why. We were honestly just confused about why you would get involved with her and why things were ending so abruptly.
Dr. Ndugu said, well, like I said, I'm fond of Renni, but it was never anything romantic for me. On a couple of occasions, Renni poured me a glass of wine before I got home. And the only reason I knew that I'd been drugged is that
I couldn't remember going to bed, and I was awfully lethargic the following day. So the last time she had a glass of wine ready and waiting for me when I got home from work, I switched our glasses when she wasn't looking. I watched the effect that it had on her. And when she got to the point where she had very little control of herself, I helped her to the couch. I covered her in a blanket, and I sat in a chair and waited. Hours later, when she woke up and jumped up from the couch, she was confused about how she got there. She couldn't remember much. I confronted her about the wine, and she got angry. She became defensive and argumentative and tried to flip it on me, saying that she just gave me something to help me to relax so that I could do what I'd always wanted to do. Then she made a pass at me and said that we'd already done it more times than she could count and in more ways than I knew. I was so angry and embarrassed that I kicked her out, telling her that I should call the police on her. True said, did you call the police? Dr. Ndugu said, no, but I did run some tests on the glass of wine, so I know exactly what she used. And if I don't talk to her soon and get this all worked out, I'm going to be forced to go to the dean and the police. Stephanie said, well, let us talk to her and see what we can do. And don't do anything until you hear from us, okay? When Stephanie and True got back to their dorm, True said, what the hell is wrong with Renni? Stephanie said, right. That girl done lost her damn mind. True said, I told you. When we got here and she had moved out of the dorms, we needed to find her. And we needed to find her quick. It was one thing when she was throwing herself into her studies to not deal with her mother's death, but this has gone too far. She out here drugging niggas. Stephanie said, and he ready to go to the dean and the police. True said, we gonna have to figure out where this apartment is. Let's call LJ and see if he knows. Stephanie said, girl, no. If we call him to ask him where her apartment is, then he's gonna know that we haven't been there. And then he's gonna start asking questions. And we don't have enough answers. True said, then what we gonna do? You know what? Call CT. He should be able to help us. Stephanie said, I am not calling him. True said, why not? He's a brand new FBI agent. He should be able to find out something. Stephanie said, CT is a last resort. True said, what you not telling me, Steph? Stephanie said, we don't even have time. Then the two ladies got on a mission, figuring out where Renni had moved to, and Stephanie had successfully avoided telling True about the CT adventures. Back in North Carolina, when Stephanie and CT arrived at Miss Cheryl's house and she and LJ had the brief discussion about Renni, LJ and CT left together right before Stephanie and her mother began their follow-up conversation. CT said to LJ, man, you've been knowing these ladies for longer than I have. I found out a lot on this trip with Stephanie to Georgia, and I got some questions. LJ said, shoot. CT said, did you know about her father changing his name and being in the drug game? LJ said, I found out when Angela and I were in college. Why? CT said, well, I'm a new recruit for the FBI. I'm currently wrapping up my training. This is my last furlough before I go undercover. LJ said, "Congratulations, man. But what does that have to do with Stephanie and Angela?" CT said, "Well, I can't be involved in any kind of shenanigans, man. I love Stephanie. She's one of my closest friends. I'd hoped that we could be more than friends. But right now, it seems like we want different things, if you know what I mean." LJ said, "She's young and free and fine as all hell, and she's enjoying her young college life." CT said, "Right. And as crazy as it sounds, I don't just plan to be a Fed. I also plan to be in ministry." LJ said, "Oh, you're going to stick with the family business, huh?" CT said, "No, it has nothing to do with it being the family business. I've been called, and I recognize that. And the agency, they know it too." LJ said, "But," CT said, "but I don't want to get too caught up in any kind of criminal situations." LJ said, "Listen, I've met their uncle. He found me when I was going through some things back in college. At the time, I thought that me and Angela were going to be able to make a go of it. I was making some bad decisions and taking some unnecessary risks. He pulled up on me. I found out a lot more than Stephanie has, and certainly a lot more than Angela knows. I agreed to do what I've already been doing, keeping Angela and Stephanie safe. As the oldest legitimate child of Angel Spencer, she has, let's say, first rights of refusal to the family enterprise. As a general rule, if Angela's not safe, nobody's safe. I didn't just show up at Mom Cheryl's house to talk to Stephanie about my sister. I showed up to talk to you. I need to know what you plan to do with the information that you learned by helping Stephanie this weekend." CT said, "I don't plan to do anything with it." LJ said, "The day may come where your job may." CT cut him off and said, "I know nothing. I have no information that anybody will ever be able to get out of me. Nothing that you tell me will ever leave these lips." LJ said, "That's what we wanted to hear." CT said, "We?" And then his nose was filled with the scent of Issey Miyagi cologne. When he turned around, he was face to face with Angela and Stephanie's uncle, Emmanuel. LJ made the introductions, and Emmanuel said, "Angela has a protector in LJ. And it seems that Stephanie has a protector in you. I always have eyes on the girls. I know who and what you are. If you have their safety and best interests at heart, then you won't ever tell anybody about their family history or about me. And if the day ever comes that you and Stephanie make more of your friendship than it is, you'll come see me and get the family's blessing. In your line of work, this is going to be a tightrope that you're going to have to walk. Angela's on pace to marry a square. I'd love to see Stephanie do the same, but I can tell from her personality that she's built for this business. I'd rather not see her with someone in the life. I have daughters of my own, and that's my preference for them as well. But whomever she chooses will have to be able to handle all that comes with her being a member of this family. The time will come when she'll have questions, and something will happen. Well, I have to make myself known to her. Let me be the one to tell my nieces about the family and about our business." A few hours after that discussion, CT got a call from Stephanie. She said, "Well, I finally talked to Weinstein." CT said, "You called?" Stephanie said, "No. He showed up at my mother's house."
He filled in a lot of the blanks, but he refused to tell me my father's real last name or to help me find this uncle of mine. CT said, "Well, maybe that's for the best." Stephanie asked, "Whose side are you on?" CT said, "Come on, Steph. I'm always on your side. But I can see why they'd want to keep some things close to the vest." Stephanie asked, "What did LJ tell you?" Deflecting, CT asked, "What do you mean?" Stephanie said, "You left with LJ. He was up to something. I'm not stupid." CT said, "He filled in some blanks for me too. And I'm telling you, Steph, let this go for now. Trust me." Stephanie said, "So now you know things about my family that I don't know, and you're not going to tell me either?" CT said, "You'll know everything when the time is right, but you don't want to open up a can of worms and not be able to put them back in it. How about focusing on your future and leaving the past in the past for now?" Stephanie said, "Well, how about since you want to keep things from me too, I leave our past in the past too." And then she hung up.